I think I touched on this a little earlier, but I think I'm going to title this one, Pardon the Motorcycle. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is not surrender. I think those of you who have been listening to my audios already know where I'm going with this, so let me go ahead and jump right into it. Sometimes people don't know the difference between accepting something and surrendering to it, and they are not the same thing. There are some people who have gone through their lives refusing to accept certain things because they think that if they accept certain things that do not agree with them, that they're actually surrendering to that thing. And that could be further from the truth. I truly believe that acceptance is a component of maturity. It really is. Just because you accept a situation or a person for what it is doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It's just confirming that you acknowledge that that thing or that person or that situation does exist. But you understand that it is something that is beyond your capabilities to deal with, and also you understand that that thing or situation is not your business and it's not your place to get involved with. But you accept it. That takes a whole lot of maturity, people. A lot of people confuse acceptance and surrender and wonder why they stay in messy situations. They do. They wonder why they've done everything they could or tolerated as much as they tolerated from that situation or thing, and they wonder why they're suffering. It's the energy associated with that messy situation. There was a movie back in the 60s, and I think it was remade either in the 80s or the 90s, and it was called The Blob, B-L-O-B. Google it go to IMDb, and it's going to talk about both versions. There may have been a third one in the 2000s. I don't know. I don't think it made the movie theaters. But go to IMDb and just type in The Blob. The original version, of course, it was in the 60s. It was one of the early science fiction colorized movies. And I remember when I was small on Sundays in the afternoon, there was the, not one of the main three channels, but one of the local channels would show movies in the afternoons. And, some of you already know I came up from a Southern Baptist church background. So after church on Sunday, we went to one of the grandmother's houses for dinner. And they would play these Sunday afternoon movies. And what they would do like 2 or 3 movies. They would start around maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they would play like 3 movies back to back until about 6 o'clock. So between 1 and 3 would be one movie, and then between 3 and 5 would be another movie. It would be 2 or 3 different movies, depending on how long the movies are. And they would pull into the archives a whole bunch of B movies. They could be a whole bunch of westerns on one Sunday, and it could be science fiction. And then when I was a little kid, I used to love science fiction movies. Okay. So I remember one Sunday afternoon going to my grandmother's house, and I remember how bright and hot it was. And my grandmother's house on my mother's side was kind of small, because if you listen to my previous audios, I think I touched on the fact that my grandfather had bought the land and built the house with his 2 hands. So it wasn't a large house. It was two bedrooms, a bathroom, a very large kitchen in the back, very large cement porch area, and then there was land, and he built a little storage house back there, a pen for the chickens because she had chickens, and it was just set up that way. And the living room was in the front of the house, so when you came in through the screen door, she had a screen door and a regular door. There would just be this long hallway that would take you from the front of the house to the back of the house. So along the hallway to the left, the first big room would be the living room. That's where the TV, coffee table, sofa, and all that would be. And then when you go down the hallway, you would see the first bedroom and then the second bedroom. And then the back of the house was the kitchen, and then the bathroom would be on the right-hand side. So what I would normally do is go in the kitchen, food's already ready. And because she didn't have she didn't have a big dining room table set up, people would just go in, grab a plate, and just sit wherever there was room and watch TV. And my favorite place was in the living room. Because I knew those Sunday afternoon movies were coming on. So as long as I cleaned up behind myself, I would go ahead and I would fix a plate of food and I would go sit in the living room and watch the movies. And I remember one Sunday, like I said, it was super bright outside. It was warm. And the Blob came on. It was my first time actually seeing it as a kid. And of course, it was a rerun because it was made before I was born. I was so fascinated because they saw this little gelatinous thing that came from a meteor. I'm not going to tell the whole story because some of you might want to watch the movie. And I watched how, as it progressed, how it just grew and became this dangerous thing that ate people and destroyed things and everything. And that's what I thought about when it came to messy situations. It's funny how you think about things spiritually and then all of a sudden you get these images in your head. So when you accept a situation, you're establishing a certain amount of control in regards to your role in that situation, if any, if you have a role at all. But when you surrender to a messy situation, it's kind of like the Blob. It's something that could have been really small and contained, but once you surrender to a messy situation, it grows and overtakes everything in your life, and all of a sudden that situation becomes you. So when you accept a person, place, or a thing, you, like I said before, you have a sense of logical control, and you're deciding if and how this person, place, or thing fits into your life. It's always better to accept a situation. But when you surrender to a person, place, or thing, you're working in a negative, weakened emotional or mental state. For whatever reason, this person pulled on your heartstrings, they struck a nerve, they brought up a memory, maybe they used some blackmail on you. I don't know. But you're not working from a place of logic when you surrender to negative, messy situations. You already know it's negative and messy and you're surrendering to it. That's not a positive mental state. So whenever you find yourself coming across something, and I told you to trust your instincts when you get involved in things. When I told you to trust your instincts, trust that little voice the minute that you hear it. You must decide how you're going to handle it, because one is positive and one is negative. But think about the Blob. This could be something that could become a blob. Something that's really innocent can turn into something that can destroy your life. Decide how you want to handle these things, if at all, if it's your place to handle. And if you're confused, go to your Creator. Whatever relationship and whatever capacity that you have. I'm grateful for everything that you've done as far as tuning into my channel, following me. I appreciate the growth. I appreciate every single one of you liking and paying attention to my videos. My goal, as I stated before, on here as well as my live,